Hi everyone, welcome to the Success Coach. My name is Muhammad Rashid Kamal. On today's episode, we're going to discuss about 10 really interesting facts about Jupiter. Jupiter was appropriately named after the king of the gods. It is massive and has a powerful magnetic field and more moons than any planet in the solar system. Though it has been known to astronomers since the ancient times, the invention of telescope and the advantage modern astronomy has taught us so much about this gas giant planet. In short, there are countless interesting facts about this gas giant planet. Many people just don't know about it. And today, here at the Success Coach, we would like to cover about 10 interesting facts about this very giant and big planet. It's called Jupiter. My name is Muhammad Rashid Kamal from the Success Coach. Welcome everyone. We're going to discuss about these 10 interesting fun facts about Jupiter. When we talk about Jupiter, the first thing to consider is its mass. It's really huge and big planet. It's no secret that Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. The description really doesn't it just for some the mass of Jupiter is 318 times the mass of the Earth. In fact, Jupiter is 2.5 times more massive than any of the other planets in the solar system combined, but there is really interesting things to it. If Jupiter got any more mass, it would actually get smaller. Additionally, mass would actually make the planet more dense, which could cause it to start pulling it on itself. Astronomers estimated that Jupiter could end up with 4 times its current mass and still remain about the same size. The other interesting fact about Jupiter is that Jupiter cannot become a star. Astronomers call Jupiter a failed star, but that's not really an appropriate description. It is true that, like a star, Jupiter is rich in hydrogen and helium. Jupiter doesn't have nearly enough mass to trigger a fusion reaction in its core. This is how stars generate energy by fusing hydrogen atoms together under the extreme heat and pressure to create helium, releasing light and heat in the process. This made possible by their enormous gravity in Jupiter to ignite a nuclear fusion process and become a star. It would need more than 70 times its current mass. If you could crush a dozen of Jupiter together, you might have a chance to make a new star. But in the meantime, Jupiter shall remain a large gas giant with no hope of becoming a star. The other really interesting things about Jupiter is that it is the fastest spinning planet in the solar system. For all its size, and mass, Jupiter should move quicker. In fact, with a rotation velocity of 12.6 km per second, this is nearly 45,000 km per hour, and the planet only takes about 10 hours to complete the full rotation on its axis. And it's because it's spinning so rapidly, the planet has flattened out at the pole a little and is bulging at its equator. In fact, the points on the Jupiter equator is more than 4,600 kilometers further from the center than the pole. It is to pull another way, and the planet's polar radius measure is 66,000 plus or minus 10 kilometers, while its diameter at the equator is 71,000. And this rapid rotation also helped the giant gas planet to generate Jupiter's powerful magnetic field, and that contributes to the dangerous radiation surrounding it. This is what you exactly focus here. Because of the pressure and the heat from the Jupiter, it's so hard to land into Jupiter. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth interesting fact about Jupiter is the clouds on Jupiter are nearly 50 kilometers thick. That's right, all those beautiful whirling clouds and storms you see on Jupiter are only about 50 kilometers thick. They're made up of ammonium crystals and that broken up into two different cloud decks. The darker material is thought to be the compound brought up from the deeper inside of the Jupiter, and these change the color when they reacted with the sunlight. But below those clouds is just hydrogen and helium all the way down. The other interesting facts about Jupiter is its great red spot has become around for a long time. The great red spot on Jupiter is one of its most familiar features. This persistent archaeotectonic storm, which is located the south of this Jupiter that measures around between 24 kilometers in diameter and 12,000 to 14,000 kilometers in height. As such, it's large enough to contain two or three planets the size of the Earth's diameter, and the spot has been around for at least 350 years since it was spotted as far back as the 17th century. The Great Red Spot was first identified in 1665 by an Italian astronomer, Galvano Cassini. By the 20th century, astronomers began to theorize that it was a storm, one which was created by the Jupiter's turbulent and fast-moving atmosphere. These theories were confirmed by the Voyager 1 mission, which observed the giant red spot up close in March of the 1979 during its flyby of the planet. However, it appears to have been shrinking since that time. Based on the Cassini observation, the size was estimated to be 40,000 in 17th century, which was almost twice as large as it is now. Astronomers do not know if to or when it will ever disappear entirely, but they are relatively sure that another one will emerge somewhere else on the planet. The other interesting fact about Jupiter is it has a ring. When people think of the ring system, Saturn naturally came to the mind, but in truth, both Uranus and Jupiter have the ring system of their own. Jupiters were the third set to be discovered after the wars of the two, due to the fact that they are particularly faint, and Jupiter's ring consists of three main segments: an inner torus of the particles known as the halo, a relatively bright main ring, and an outer gossamer ring. These rings are widely believed to have come from the material ejected by its moons when they are struck by meteorite impact. In particular, the main ring is thought to be composed of material from the moons Adrastea and Metis, while the moons of Devi and Metalta are believed to produce the two distinct components of the dust gossamer ring. This material fell into the orbit around Jupiter, and instead of falling back to their respective moons, because of its Jupiter's strong gravitational influence, the ring is also depleted and replenished regularly as some materials veer toward the Jupiter while new materials is added by an additional impact. Jupiter's magnetic field is 14 times stronger than the Earth's. Compass would really work on Jupiter. That's because it has the strongest magnetic field in the solar system. Astronomers think the magnetic field is generated by the heat current as the swirling movement of the conducting material within the liquid metallic hydrogen core. This magnetic field traps particularly of the sulfur dioxide from the Iowa's volcanic eruption, which produce the sulfur and oxygen ions together with the hydrogen ion originating from the atmosphere of the Jupiter. This form of the plasma sheet in Jupiter's equatorial planet. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we are watching the 10 interesting facts about Jupiter. One of the interesting things about Jupiter is that Jupiter farther out, the interaction of the magnetosphere with the solar wind generates a blow stack, the dangerous belt of the radiation that can cause damage to spacecraft. Jupiter's four largest moons all orbit within the magnetosphere, which protect them from the solar wind, but also make the likelihood of talvishing the outer spots of the surface problematic. The magnetosphere of the Jupiter is also responsible for the intense episode of the radiation emission from the planet polar regions. Jupiter is really known by it has 67 moons. As of this the pinning article, Jupiter has 67 confirmed and named satellites. However, it's estimated that the planet has more than 200 natural satellites orbiting around it. Almost all of them are less than 10 kilometers in diameter, and they were only discovered after the 1975 and when the first spacecraft Pointer 10 arrived at Jupiter. It also has four major moons, which are collectively known as the Galilean Moon, after they discovered by the Galileo Galilei. These are the order of distance from Jupiter to Io, the Europe, Ganymede, and the Callisto. These moons are some of the largest in the solar system, with the Ganymede being the largest, measuring 5,662 kilometers in diameter. When we talk about Jupiter, one of the important and interesting piece of story is that it has been visited 7 times by the spacecraft. Jupiter was first discovered by NASA Pioneer in 10 spacecraft in December 1973, and then the Pioneer 11 in December 1974. They named as the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. They fly by, and both of which happened in 1976, 1979, and this was followed by the long break until the Ulysses arrived in 1972. That was followed by the Galileo Space Probe in 1995, and the Cassini made a flyby in 2000 on its way to the Saturn, and finally NASA's New Horizons spacecraft made its fly in 2007. This was the last mission to fly past Jupiter, but it surely would not be the last. Do you think that Jupiter is something the planet when you can see with your eye? Yes, that is correct. Jupiter is the third brightest object in the solar system after Venus and Moon. The chances are you saw Jupiter in the sky and had no idea that's what you were seeing. And in some university today, there are habits of letting readers know when the best opportunity for spotting Jupiter in the night sky. Chances if you see really bright solar high in the sky, then you are looking about Jupiter. You need to get your hand on a pair of binocular, and if you look some a telescope, that's even better. Using the modest magnificent, you might even spot the small peaks of the light orbiting it, which are the Galilean moons, and just you will be seeing precisely what Galileo did when he regained 19 planets in 1610. We have written many of these interesting articles about Jupiter, that Jupiter is being the massive and big giant planet. Hope you guys love this discussion about the Jupiter